Hi, Bryan Campbell here with the next step. Today I want to talk about the highs and the lows of going through a physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual injury, trauma. If you've been following me, you know that I've had 3 neck surgeries. And I want to talk about what that does to somebody. So from the first one, I was only 17. And I remember when it happened, I was at the height of a 17-year-old boy, a junior in high school, a captain on the wrestling team, played football, ran track. And when I got injured, I remember how depressed I was. I didn't plan my life that way. And yet I was grateful that God had allowed me to walk. I was grateful that I was alive. But I knew that at that time, I had the physical scar, the physical injury of breaking my neck. I didn't realize the emotional scar that it would leave on me. Going through depression, that I wasn't able to do certain things as fast as I wanted to do. The fact that I had to relearn how to walk, I had to learn how to eat again, and I had to learn all my motor functions. And the lows of that were getting very depressed. And yet when I think of the highs, I think about how grateful I was that I was just alive and that I had an opportunity to push and walk out of the hospital. And I remember I made a promise to myself that the high for me was going to be in 30 days that I was going to walk out of that hospital. And I remember I was getting to my goal. And then again, I had to go home and sit for another month or 2 before I went back to school. And the depression started to spiral down. I had to work real hard through therapy on my physical side, but it took a lot of work internally as well. I had to find out what I had in the human spirit to overcome the highs and the lows and the depression you get when you're not making as much progress as you'd like. And I remember when I broke my neck the second time, again, I remember laughing at the doctor because I said it'll be fine. I knew I could make it. I knew that committing to the process would allow me to experience the highs of physically getting through it. I remember that I had gotten through this once before, so there's no reason I couldn't get through it a second time. But I remember that I was still in pain. I still hurt physically, and yet emotionally, mentally, I was unable to do the things that I could before in my life. And yet I knew I had perseverance and drive. I knew that I was going to have to overcome this a second time. And a lot of times I just locked the pain inside. But I got through it. And If you've been following me, you know that I had a third neck surgery. And I remember getting out of the third surgery, and the doctor thought I was doing fantastic, and I felt great. I felt like I was back to when I was 16 years old. And yet I realized that when you go through trying to overcome an obstacle, sometimes you have euphoric feelings. And sometimes you're down to where you have to work through things. And I know deep down inside me that I've been through this before. I know how to work through this. So, I hope when you do get depressed, I hope when you do have a low, you fight through it. You remember how grateful you are for what you have. Make it a great day.